that doesn't change the aspect.
You're what it is, you man. Your boy, SK Brokaw, reporting to you live in location here on 500 Pearl Street. I just witnessed the conclusion of the United States of America versus Sean Puff Diddy trial. I say conclusion, but that's without the verdict. Basically, we are in the end games now. The judge has given the jury their instructions. Now they are all deliberating to find a verdict of whether Sean Puffy Combs will be found guilty of the 5 charges. All right. So now, what I'm going to do right now, what your boy going to do for you, I'm going to give you a rundown what happened today. Okay. Then I'm going to give you a breakdown of what's big and what's not big. Pause. All right. What's the key points? What could have Puff Jam? What they should be worried about. Then I will give you my thoughts on what I think will happen. And then at the conclusion of that, I'll give you my prediction on what I think the jury will do. All right. So let's start off with today. So now, starting off, typical setup. All the family was there. All the kids, mom, Luke, about 10 family. What up, my G? What up? About court's packed, right? All family was there. All hands on deck, right? Puff came in, Carlton swag, yellow sweater vest, khaki pants, white shirt. His normal thing. It's only one time I recall seeing him come with a little variation. One time he came with dark colors on. I'd have to look back on my notes to see what day that was. And I'd be curious to see what day that was that he did that. Only one time did he come out with dark clothes on. But today's typical light day, okay? So now, judge sit down, any objections, a couple small talk between lawyers. I mean, nothing significant. Little nitpicking things like that, like they want to nitpick how verbiage looked on one thing versus another thing, shit like that. All right, so get down to it. So today is he gives the jury their instructions. So basically, he laid out all the charges, all the qualifications for the charges, and what must be had in order for that charge to be met. All right. So basically, he went through. He said it must be found guilty or not guilty for each individual charge, and guilty or innocent or not guilty or one charge couldn't affect the next. That's some points he stretched out. He said, well, you gotta go through each of these 5 individual charges, find him guilty or not guilty, and then on top of that, you have, since it being 5 charges, you can't connect charges to another charge. Yeah, it is. I mean, it's a bunch of us out here. Will, it's like 20 people out here. Matter of fact, it's a crowd of them over here right now. It's a crowd of them over there listening to Torrey speak right now, man. Like it's people out here. Everybody here doing their thing. Now she's saying you can hear somebody else. If that's the case, I might need to move. But nah, all right. So, first thing to go through, the RICO. All right, the RICO charge. Now, to be guilty of the RICO charge, the government had to prove that between 2004 to 2024, an agreement between 2 or more people engaged in racketeering enterprise knowingly joined and agreed to do crime. Right? So from 2004 to 2024, 2 or more people had agreed to come to an agreement to basically enter an enterprise and commit criminal acts. Right? And he broke it down further. He went into details about this. He said it has to be a conspiracy between 2 or more individuals, understanding. It has to be a conspiracy between 2 or more people who come to an understanding, right? Then it must be proven that they had a mutual understanding between them two, right? On top of that, you may consider actions without words. In other words, even though they may not have said we have an understanding, their actions can't infer understanding, and you can be guilty therefore, right? Then there's the definition of what an enterprise was. He said you find an enterprise by a group of people associated as part of an organization with structure. All right, with structure, the group must have a common goal, purpose. In this instance, they got Sean P. Diddy Combs Enterprise, Bad Boys, and Combs Global. All right, those were the quote-unquote enterprise, parts of enterprises that they got labeled. All right. Now, for criminal enterprise must have impact on interstate commerce or foreign commerce. All drug activity qualifies for that. Family's coming out right now. I'm tempted to go over here and watch the family, but I've already started with y'all, but we've already seen the family for the time. Although Luke owes me a shirt. I do want my shirt. I don't want Luke to think I don't want my shirt.
I'm a specific type.
So basically, have to prove that Puff knowingly and willfully joined the conspiracy and must be connected to the enterprise. All right, this company. All right. Now it's saying Puff must knowingly and willingly agree to participate in the RICO activities. So not only is he basically responsible for them, he must knowingly have participated in them. All right. So now, here's the thing to get a little sticky. The RICO, how you convict somebody RICO? It must be 2 acts within 10 years of each other. Now, I thought it was 5 years. I got my time mixed up. It's 2 acts within a 10-year time period of each other. And the jurors must all be unanimous on which acts they're guilty of. So basically, it's 12 jurors. It's 8 RICO predicates, all right? 8 things they're going to be like, all right, if you do this, 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 and this. Those 8, you have to have at least 2 instances in order for them to convict the RICO. What I mean by that is, let's say we letter them 1 through 8. If you convict him of 1, convict him of 6, then he's guilty of RICO. If you convict him of 4 and convict him of 8, then he's guilty of RICO. But now also on top of that, if you convict him of 5 twice, that's RICO. If you convict him of 2 twice, that's RICO. Why is that important? Because if he's charged with 2 counts of sex trafficking, 1 on Cassie, 1 on Jane Doe. If he's found guilty of both of those, then by that estimate, he's also found guilty of RICO. He has several instances of taking drugs. If you find him guilty of basically soliciting drugs multiple times, that's RICO. So that's a very key point in doing all this and knowing all this, right? So now, the RICO predicate has 8 acts, right? 8 acts to deal with, right? I'll list through all of them, and I'll go back and kind of give you a definition breaking out each one of them. All right? So it's kidnapping, arson, bribery, tampering, forced labor, sex trafficking, interstate prostitution, and drug distribution. All right, those are the 8 predicates that he's on trial for as far as RICO. All right, so now kidnapping. For it to be kidnapping, you must take a person by force or fear, move that person a far distance. Person must not consent to being moved that far distance, and must be held at substantial time against their will. He noted in here though that if the person consents to being moved or consents to going to a place, it's not kidnapping. All right, I found that to be interesting based on details in the trial. Right. Also, these charges stem from New York and they stem from California. So New York and California have conflicting or different basic ways that they define these things. For the instances that happen, it must meet the criteria in that state. Meaning that if it happened in New York, it's got to meet the New York criteria. If it's happening in Cali, it's got to meet the Cali criteria. Both of them are similar, but both of them do have a little varied degrees of kind of details about what's going on with both situations. So that's the thing that must happen for kidnapping, all right? Now, hold on.
There's other individuals that you will find in, you know, in the entertainment industry.
Now,
probably not
going to the
necessarily
next thing,
industry specific.
arson. All right, the next charge is arson.
And this is just
Arson
one of the lifestyles that we live by.
Simply got to prove Puff, had to prove Puff started the fire or helped start the fire, and had to have willing, malicious intent. All right, so they prove he did it, and prove he had malicious intent to do it, and he did it willfully. All right, that's what has to be used for arson. All right. Next thing we got is bribery. Bribery to give a person about to be called as a witness or influence to an officer something of value. That's bribery. What's considered a far distance? Right here, hey, that's another thing. He didn't give a specific number. He was just like a far distance. No matter of fact, the exact words was a substantial difference. I just summarized it as far because it's quicker for me to write. But the exact verbiage he used was substantial distance. Okay. All right. So now, back on bribery. Puff must gave or offered to a person to prevent them from going to lawful enforcement, and to act with corrupt attempt seeking gain, basically. So basically, he had corrupt intent to give somebody gain to keep them from going to the police. All right, that's bribery. All right, witness tampering. All right, the government must prove Puff knowingly used intimidation, force, or coercion. Or we back up. Puff knowingly used intimidation, which can mean frightening or struck fear in somebody, force or coercion, knowingly to persuade someone not to testify or come forth and give lawful testimony. All right. Now, the forced labor. Forced labor, he said, the government must prove to Puff obtain services. All right. Threaten via force. Okay. Use a scheme or pattern if they didn't perform that they will be harmed. So basically, if they didn't perform their task they actually do, they will be harmed in some fashion. All right. For it to be a threat, it must be so. All right. So important. Now, to add on to that, for it to be qualified as a threat, it must be so that a reasonable person would understand and think it to be an authentic, real threat, as opposed to just being like a joke or some type of fly in the night kind of stance. In other words, you don't do this, I'll kill you. Right? You're able to infer whether or not you think somebody's serious or not. And it has to be to where a reasonable person would think, oh, this person's serious. Alright? That was interesting. Alright? The person has to believe that serious harm will come upon them if they do not do said labor that they've been made to do, and it must be done knowing. So that was the thing for forced labor. Now for sex trafficking. Sex trafficking, synonymous. Oh, I went through sex trafficking before. Sex trafficking, because I didn't write it down because I already had definition before. So sex trafficking means that the person needs to be forced, coerced, or persuaded to do some type of sexual act against their will. Alright, so now the thing with sex trafficking is it need only be one time. That was the bad thing about sex trafficking. It needed only be one time.
That's it. This is the difference between having a good lawyer.
Alright, so it only has to be one down. So basically, if you was with, so say hypothetically, a man, you with a chick,
he would have a chance in hell.
you would have 100 times. Y'all get down 100 times.
Zero chance.
If on time 70, she was like, nah, I'm not with it, but you still kind of coerced her into basically the sex act, that qualifies sex trafficking. That's the main point on that I need to get across to y'all. Alright. Now, interstate prostitution, we gotta prove that Puff knowingly persuaded a person to travel, that said person did indeed travel, and did so knowingly for the act of sex. So now, they didn't have to commit the sex act, they must have to normally know that they were moving for. In other words, they got there, something went left, nut popped off, then it's still sex trafficking. I mean, still interstate prostitution. It's man law. Whether or not sex happened or not doesn't matter. The fact that the intent was there and he made motion to make it happen, that makes a man law, which is interstate sex trafficking. Then the drug possession with intent, basically possession with intent to distribute. It's all hard drugs, coke, X, oxy, any hard drugs. Basically, why I inferred from it. With that being said, they didn't have weed up there. Person must possess it with intent, did so knowingly, and you had the intention to deliver it or pass along to other individuals. To sell it is not required. So now, if you didn't require, if you weren't going to sell it, that's neither here nor there. If you have it in your possession and you knowingly or willfully give it to other people, that qualifies. Who is coming? Some people coming in right now. I'm almost tempted to walk over there so y'all can see who it is, but I think the door is closed. I think they need me. Yeah, I already sold y'all the more that was in there. So alright, so now. So now, they define possession. They said possession is you can have possession without it being physically on you. So basically, it may not be in your pocket, but it can still be in your possession, meaning that someone got it for you, someone's holding it for you, or you sent someone to get it, and now it's in a location that was basically at your word, like, hey, go get this and put this at my crib. Then at that point in time, that's possession, all right? Or go get this and hold this in the other room. That's still possession on your part, all right? All right, so now, something I was confused on. Your boy was confused on this. All right, so RICO has a 5-year limitation. All right, so he said something about 2019 as far as the RICO can go back. But these charges stem from 2004 to 2024. So it was like, for the RICO has some 2 acts done within a 10-year window. So the boy didn't really fully understand like how the dynamics of them numbers work. Hopefully I could get like a lawyer or somebody come on here later on next and somebody kind of break it down. But it was like RICO has a 5-year statute of limitation, but they are saying that this is basically from 2004 to 2024 that they're taking this stuff from, all right? All right.
I think there's a good argument that he likes doing all types of nasty things, seeing nasty things done.
Hold on.
Just like there's an argument of, well, he's creating a criminal atmosphere.
Hold on, okay.
Beguiling people into becoming unwittingly.
Okay, that's interstate. Okay, this is forced labor. This is forced labor.
That dealt with drugs and sex. I guess there's an argument for that also.
This is good. Hold on, I'm trying to go through my notes real quick. I have to write fast while I'm in there because fam be speeding up. What up, there? What up, G? Fam be going super fast and it's like, damn, I be, you know what I'm saying? So I'm going to have to try to figure out what these notes is. Hold on.
I'm not going to grill you, right? You can have whatever shit.
All right, so then he broke down information about like the witnesses and stuff like that. Like basically said like, look, for the expert opinion, expert witnesses, he said use it. He basically said use it for what it is, but don't use that over your own logic. Like infer your own logic, trust your own logic to believe. For the for the witnesses with immunity, he's like, look, these witnesses have immunity, but don't discredit what they're saying based on their immunity. Charts and summaries, you can take it for information. Redacted statements, if anything that's been redacted, do not include that in your basically in your summation or decision making. Pseudonym. So anybody who testified under pseudonym, and I think it was 3 people who testified under fake names. He was like, don't hold that against them. Basically, don't hold that against them. People not on trial, don't hold it against the defense or the prosecution about anybody who's currently not on trial who you feel like should testify. So, in other words, don't hold against either one of them that KK, D-Rock, or Rube isn't testifying. Don't hold that against them. Right? He did say something else. This is interesting. He said voluntary intoxication. Basically, he was like, voluntary intoxication while it doesn't excuse a person from like committing the crimes, like basically it can be basically like a legit reasonable defense. Like the person was intoxicated and wasn't able to, like, you know what I'm saying, wasn't in their right mind basically. Like it is a viable excuse for them. So I thought that was interesting. Alright. Now he's talking directly to the prosecution. Talked directly to the prosecution. He told them, all right, so listen, this is deliberation now. So actually, this process. So like, do not share your notes. Your notes are your notes. Don't share your notes with nobody else in the middle, right? He said, no outside communication. Stay off the internet. He said, race, age, religion, etc. shouldn't be held against the defendant. Okay. He also said, the possible sentence he's facing, you cannot use that to weigh in your decision. In other words, they're not allowed to consider like, damn, if he gets convicted of this, he's going to get 20 years. That's neither here nor there for them. They simply need to figure out whether or not he's guilty of said crime. Okay? So he gave him a verdict sheets. There's 3 sheets on the verdict sheet, all right? It's first sheet is RICO, not guilty or guilty. And then each act they have on their acts, all the acts I labeled out before, you know, all 8 acts, I'll tell you again. Those acts are kidnapping, arson, bribery, tampering, forced labor, sex trafficking, interstate prostitution, and drug possession with intent to distribute. Has all those listed on there with proven or not proven. And they got to answer that for each of the acts. So all 8 acts, they got to answer whether it's proven or not proven, alright? So then, alright. Sheet 2 has sex trafficking, men at Cassie. Sheet 3 has sex trafficking, man act Jane Doe. Alright? Basically told the jurors, y'all go in there deliberate. Y'all just talk what y'all gotta talk about. Y'all ain't got nothing done by 5. You come back tomorrow. So forth and so on until it's done. Alright? Basically, it was like everybody hold tight, wait for them to finish. So I don't think nobody's going to fall. So that being said, we all hold tight. So that being said, we are now in the end game. Now the wrap. It's all the hands of the jury now. Time hold, alright. That's the way it's at. Okay. Alright, so now, objection line. Prosecution objection. Oh, one more thing, I just say it in there, just gotta go in my notes. The judge asked me any more objection to anything. The prosecution was like, we object to this Burberry message because, like, in the verbiage for the Burberry message, in the it basically included the subject line. Because apparently on Blackberries had the subject line, and the defense was like, this was more akin to email than it is to a text message. But the prosecution really wasn't feeling the subject line, so I think the judge ended up making them take the subject line out of the situation. So that piece of evidence, had no more subject line on it. All right. So now, all that's done. All right. So now, I'm going to review for you the key points for the RICO, key instances for the sex acts, and then give you what I think, what I would do, and what I think the jury's going to do. All right. So now, let's go start with the RICO. The RICO. All right. So now, like I said, we'll go through each one of them. Kidnapping. That's the first predicate on RICO. I don't think he should be too worried about that. So it's basically 3 instances of kidnapping they talk about. No, my bad. 3 instances of kidnapping. 2 with Capricorn Clark, 1 with Cassie. All right. Capricorn Clark, first one. What up, Rika? What up, Drika? Capricorn Clark. All right. The first instance is when she basically jury disappeared, and she said she had to take the lie detector for 5 days in the abandoned building. All right. So now they're saying they put that's one of the kidnapping charges. I would not worry about that if I was the defense, because simple fact she was allowed to go home every day for those 5 days. She was picked up and taken home. And the judge specifically said today that a person consenting to going cannot be kidnapped. So if I agree to go with you, that's not kidnapping. So by that alone, I'm not worried about that. The next one they had was a situation where it was basically Puff forced Capricorn to go with him to Cuddy house. All right. So now the thing about that is they're saying that Puff forced her to go, and she also says Puff had a gun. The defense came hard. Whoa. Defense went hard. Still kind of low about Puff not having a gun. Broke down why he didn't have a gun, how nobody else said he had a gun, and they brought one key point that I thought was vital. They said that, okay, when Puff went in the house, Capricorn was in the car by herself. At that point in time, she called to warn Kid Cudi and Cassie that Puff was in the house and looking for them, right? She's warning them for their safety. At no point in time in that conversation did she say to Cudi, hey, he has a gun. Now, if I'm warning you of something, if I'm warning you somebody's in your crib, and I know they're strapped, I'm going to tell you that, hey, look, so-and-so's in your crib, and they got heat on. That's just something I'm going to do. So by that, I don't feel like logically you could be like, all right, you wasn't kidnapped right here. More so like you were playing both sides, trying to be a double agent, right, making Puff think you ride with him, but also trying to catch him. That's why I think, that's my deduction, and that's why I've been told, like, kind of like the vibe was in the courtroom itself, right? The third instance is with Cassie, right? So third instance with Cassie. So third instance, basically, Puff and Cassie got to fighting at the house. After the fight was over with, Bonds, Puff security, took Cassie and put her in the hotel room, all right? They're saying that they made Cassie go to a hotel room against her will, but no, my mistake, it wasn't Bonds, it was D-Rock. D-Rock took her to the hotel room, all right? They made it seem that D-Rock took her there against her will, but for one, Cassie testified several times that D-Rock was someone she trusted and was her friend, somebody who was there for her. And also, it testified that Cassie herself insisted that she wanted to stay at the house with Puff, but they made her go to the hotel to like get away from everything so things could cool off. So that, in my estimation, doesn't constitute kidnapping. They told you to go here, but what you weren't forced like against your will, like you went kicking and screaming. They told you to get in the car, you got in the car, you went. You didn't want to go, but you went willingly, ultimately. All right, so I'm not worried about kidnapping. If I'm the defense, arson, Kid Cudi, that's a Kid Cudi situation. I don't think they should worry about arson because there was nothing tying Puff to the scene. There was no witnesses seeing Puff there, or somebody fitted with Puff there. There was no DNA connecting Puff to the scene. And the only evidence they have anything about Puff and an arson was that Cassie said Puff told her that he would blow up Cudi's car, which he didn't. Rich, really, keep it a band with you. The car just got some cashmere upholstery like messed up road. Like it wasn't blown up. It was still drivable. Like you spend like 5 G's, you got it fixed and like he was getting straight like nobody knew nothing. So like whole thing about being blown up altogether is kind of like over exaggerated. But there's nothing tying Puff to that. There's nothing else. There's no evidence tying Puff to that at all. No witnesses, no DNA, no documents where they show where Puff said he was going to do something like that, anything like that. There's nothing there. So if I'm the defense, arson I'm not worried about. The bribery, a little worried, but not really. I'll tell you why. All right, so the bribery. So basically, one of the key things about the bribery is that the bribery has to be, you have to instruct somebody for going to law enforcement or instruct a law enforcement officer. All right. So now, how does that work to this? When Puff, let me finish. You go. When Puff went to when Puff and KK approached the guy about the film, the footage, Puff words to him, documented were, this could ruin my image. Like, this can't get out, this could destroy my career. So one, that shows right there that his verbal intent was protecting his image and not obstructing justice. All right. Two, second thing is, the hotel and people there had no intent of turning that over to the police. Like, Puff them were not stopping them from going to the police. They had no intent to. Now, if the police would have came and asked for it, they would have gave it to him, but they had no intent at that moment going to the police. And three, he didn't approach anybody who was an officer of the court or law enforcement. So, approaching or stopping somebody from going to law enforcement is necessary for it to be bribery. At no point in time did Puff stop them from going to law enforcement or prohibit them. Now, he made them sign NDAs, but the NDA, it allowed them to talk to law enforcement if need be. But the prosecution did bring up the fact that in that NDA, they were allowed to talk to law enforcement if need be, but they needed to notify Puff first. So I don't know how that plays with anything. That's not keeping them from talking to law enforcement. They're just like, look, you're going to talk to law enforcement about this, just tell me first. So I'm in the fence, a little bit on them, probably, but I ain't losing sleep on it, all right? All right, tampering. Witness tampering, that ties more so into Mia when D-Rock stepped to her. So basically, D-Rock, and I'm not worried about that if I'm the this, because D-Rock stepped to her was basically like, he hit her up on a text message and basically like filling her out like, what's good, what you doing, how you been, blase blase. She hit him back, D-Rock, so good to hear from you. And she wrote this long message about what's been going on in her life and everything like that. Now, the prosecution says that D-Rock hit her up and offered her money to basically shut her up. But the defense showed that in the text thread, she went on this long soliloquy about all things going on in her life, X, Y, and Z. And she said that, hey, I'm doing this thing, this non-profit, but I'm out of Skrilla now. I'm out of money. So when she said that, D-Rock was like, oh, you need us to get you some money? So basically the money situation was initiated by her, not by D-Rock or Puffy. So that's why, and that's really the only instance of basically that's really the only instance of tampering they got, was basically messing with her. So I wouldn't worry about that. Forced slavery. All right, this is kind of easy. Like, I'm not terrified worried of it, but it's like, all right, so I'll explain to you. So now, forced labor, there's two ways to look at forced labor. With Mia and with Capricorn, and then with Puffy, and with Cassie and Jane Doe. So with Mia and Capricorn, they basically said that they were being forced labor because they was working crazy hours, like 72 hours straight type of vibe, like countless hours, like just overworked, underpaid, and like they qualify under forced labor. Right? The defense came back and said, look, that's not forced labor. They said the forced labor mean that you were made to work against your will. At any given point in time, they both could have quit. Their whole issue was they did these things because they didn't want to lose their job. So this is like, how can it be forced labor when you can leave whenever you want to leave? In other words, y'all admitted that y'all did these things because y'all wanted to keep your job, because you were scared to lose your job. And in doing so, and after the fact, both of them left their jobs and basically got better jobs. Because the prosecution tried to play the angle that they were forced to do these things because Puff is such a giant in the industry. Had they not did this with Puff, he would blackball them and they wouldn't be able to work. Therefore, they were forced. But the defense for the fact said, look, both of y'all left this job, got better paying jobs in the same field with other celebrities. Capricorn Clark either ended up working with 50 Cent, and then Mia ended up working with Madonna. So it was like, how is this forced labor? Like, y'all got like y'all could quit when anything you wanted to. You didn't stop y'all from quitting, and you were able to get great jobs after that. Like, there's nothing forced about this. All right. Now, the Cassie Jane Doe part is a little tricky. Tell you why. Cassie and Jane Doe are basically on the sex trafficking side. So basically, they convict them of sex trafficking, they can also kind of put it in the forced slavery. They're basically saying that they were forced to do these things in order to pay for their lifestyle of like rent being paid, gifts, so forth and so on. So basically, this was their things they were forced to do in order to pay for what things they were given. Especially Jane Doe, like she was forced to do these things in order to keep her house paid for, keep money coming in. And there are text messages from Puff was like, "Y'all, you need to tighten up, or I'm gonna fall back," type of thing like that. And she's made several text messages where she's like, "I hate the fact how like you paying for my house is head over my head all the time. I think I'm always walking on eggshells." So that element is out there. Now, in my estimation, I would be like, I don't see that. I ain't roll with it. But I could see how someone could roll with that. So by defense, that's one of the ones I might be a little like, yeah. All right. So now we get to sex trafficking. All right. So now, sex trafficking. So hold on. I want to do this. All right. I'll come back to sex trafficking at the next step, right? So now, interstate prostitution, basically that's either having sex or intent to let me back up. That's moving a sex worker or somebody intending to work for sex across state lines and have the intent of having sex. So basically, a sex worker moving across state line and just have the intent to make some action. In other words, even the action didn't go through, that doesn't mean it's still qualified as long as the intent was there. All right, that's when they gotta be worried about. You gotta be worried about that. In my estimation, they cooked on that. Like man law, like he cooked on that. I'll get to that at the end. All right. Drugs, PWI. That's gonna be hard. I'm losing sleep. If I'm the defense, I lose sleep over that one. Because now it's simply having drugs and basically distributing them. So basically, it's no more than basically, hey, I got 3X in my pocket. I'm gonna take one, you take one, you take one. That act right there, that's drug possession with intent to distribute. That's it. Legally, that's it. And I will tell you, it is a lot of times where that is like shown in text messages, testimony, like that's a thing. Like I'm telling you something.
Drugs. Nobody needs.
Tell you something. Puff is drug addict. Puff is a full-fledged. Wait, what? What happened? Hey, what's going on? Hold on. Y'all hold on. I got to figure what's going on. Hold on. Something going on. I'm back. I'm back. Apparently, a note was handed from the jury to the judge. It wasn't a verdict, but it was just a note of some sort. It might be asking a question like that. The way everybody kind of jumped up and kind of like ran off, I was like, whoa, what's going on? What's going on? Like, what's going on? All right, so yeah, the drug thing. So yeah, that's a problem. Like it's countless like drug instances on there. What up, Peanut? It's countless drug instances. Countless. Like, I'm telling you something. Puff was a certified rock star drug addict, like Tony Montana level. Like apparently he been in rehab like 3 times, but Puff had a bad drug problem. There was countless drug related stuff going on there. So that's a problem. I'm the defense, that's a problem. I'm worried about that. Because remember, to convict somebody of RICO, it's 8 predicates But you don't have to have two different predicates. You can pull somebody of just two of the same predicate, and that's RICO. So they can get him on 2 drug instances, and technically that's RICO. So I'm defense, I'm worried on that. All right, so now, let's go to the sex trafficking part, all right? So now, sex trafficking. The sex trafficking breaks down to 4 incidents, all right? So listen, it's established in this trial that these women was with the shits, all right? They was all down and with the cause, right? But the issue comes that there were times where they basically either expressed they didn't work with the shits or shit went left during the shits, all right? I'm going to explain to you. And now it's 4 times in this trial where that's happened. And these are the 4 times defense Puff got worried about, right? These are the 4 things, these are the 4 times that in the jury room they got to be like, we got to decide on this, and basically deciding on this is going to basically decide whether or not they're going to convict Puff of sex trafficking, right? So I'm going to go in order from what I think is the least one to worry about to the one that's like, damn, I think you screwed, right? Ironically, the one I label as the least is a videotape. It's a tape one from the Intercontinental where he basically beats her up in the kicks her and beats her up in the hallway, right? I'll tell you why. Because the defense argument is that they had a freak off or something of that nature, but it was totally consensual. What happened was Cassie found something in his phone or found something in the phone and basically went left with it. Like, saw it, went left, wouldn't feel it no more. Got up, how you doing? Decided to leave. Alright? So now, when she left, you saw us at the tape, Puff came out there with a towel, kicked the shit out of her, you know, cursing her out, carrying on with her case may be. Now, the defense put a diagram up basically showing that Puff went out there to get his phone or get the phone. It showed like him going out there with no phone. Basically, Cassie had a phone. Basically, showed Puff take the phone from and sit down with case may be. So it's, quote, their theory is over the phone. Then, as it progressed, like once the security guard came out there and Puff is chilling, they basically show like Cassie being like, tell him, man, go inside. Like, in other words, like, basically like, as a dude, if you spat, you and your girlfriend get into it, then all of a sudden your girlfriend clicked too before you do. She's like, man, go inside, like, before something grab. Like, basically she was trying to protect him. Like, look, you outside in the hallway without a robe on. Like, go inside, go inside. You're a fucking Puff Daddy in the middle of this hallway with no clothes on, with nothing, socks on and a towel. Like, damn, go inside. Trying to protect him. Basically saying like, that's not the sign of somebody who's in duress or somebody who's trying to get away from like some type of forced labor. That's somebody who cares about their other person and trying to get them back to a situation where they're basically like, you know, out the light. Like, yes, he beat the shit out of her, but even in that moment, she would still have enough sense or kind of like love for him to be like, look, this situation is left right now. Before it gets worse, you need to go inside the room. Like, they literally showed on the film like her saying like, go inside, like, go inside, like, get out of here, go inside. And eventually he went back in the room. She went by her way, went on by her way in business. And then the conversation, they text message that night was like, hit me up, call me, I might get arrested, like in finesse and trying to be like, trying to manipulate her to kind of hit him up because he was mad at what the case may be. But even the conversation following that next couple of days was him being like, baby, I'm sorry. I promise you nothing like that happen again. Her being like, it's okay. You don't have to apologize to me anymore. I just don't know when you get on these drugs, like how, like, I don't know how to take it type of thing. Like, we have to do something about, basically saying like, the drugs are making you wild out and I don't know what to do when you're in that state where the case may be. So, if I'm the defense, I'm not overly worried about the situation because they explain a very rational, reasonable way to be like, that ain't what that was, all right? Now, the prosecution was like, he was dragging her back to the room to finish the freak off, like dragging her back to her doom. And the defense was like, that's not what happened there. And when you look at it with the explanation, it's like, all right, I can see that. That makes sense. That's reasonable. All right. So now, that's number 4. The number 3 instance, I said it's not that bad, in my estimation. All right. So Puff and Jane Doe are Puff's flying Jane Doe out to come to New York for a freak off. All right. Hotel night, freak off, king night, whatever. I want the term freak off is gonna be in the damn dictionary now. That's why. But so he's flying her out there. In the midst of her getting ready to come out there, she sees something on the internet. Basically, I think she sees an interview with Young Miami or Gina. She sees something involving Puff being with another woman, and it turns her sour. Like, oh, right, you out here doing this stuff with this girl. So she hits Puff in a text message like, you know, like, you got me out here doing all your dirty work. Meanwhile, you out here flaunting and flexing with your other girls, stuff like that. Like, they ain't out here doing what I gotta do. Like, they not out here, like, you know, doing these crazy things for you the way I am. Like, you know, I'm cool on that today. Like, if you want to do something like that, have them come do it, because I'm good. So Puff was like, alright, cool. Like, baby, like, you know, like, just come out here, we'll chill, we'll kick it. You know, it's all good. I ain't tripping. You know, we'll just go out to eat, we'll have a good time, blah, 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 right? You know, like, hey, it's all good, just come up, we'll have a good time, we'll go to dinner, buy you some things, so forth and so on. But in the midst, now mind you, all this is in text messages. In the midst of him sending these text messages off, he's also texting the agency, basically, what, baby, you alright? Good.
Happy Monday.
Happy Monday too. I love my earrings too. I forgot to tell you that last week. In the midst of Puff texting and telling her this via text, he's texting the agency, sex worker agency, basically saying his order up. Like, yeah, have cuz come to this hotel at this time, blah, 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 blah. So he set up the play. Well, I tell old girl, don't worry about it. We won't have, there's no play for us to have. We'll just chill, do our own thing with this mission, right? So now, but during the testimony of the situation, she was like, she got there, they did X, Y, and Z, so forth and so on. And then after a while, Puff was like, hey, you want to get to it again? You want to do whatever? And she was like, all right, I'll do it. So basically, they try to say it was sex trafficking because she expressed to him that she didn't want to do it, but yet he still forced her to do it. But in testimony, she was like, she got there and basically sweet talked her back in the game. Hey man, in reality, if you look at it from a jury standpoint, an average Joe standpoint, your girl may come to your house and be like, I'm mad at you, I don't want to do nothing. And you be like, I understand, baby, I get it, it's cool, just come hang out where the case may be. And then she get there, you sweet talk her, you know, push her buttons, and then she pop back off. Like, so that ain't far-fetched. So if I look at this from the standpoint of an average juror, an average person, like, alright, like people have the right to change their mind. Like, yeah, I may not have wanted to do something at 6 o'clock p.m. And at 11 p.m., I'm like, you know what? I want to get to it. Like, that's not uncommon. That's not unreasonable. So that's why I think you don't have to be that worried about that. Now, last two. Alright, so now, the second one. The second one, basically, it was Puff, Cassie, and I think the dude Paul. Alright, so they in the freak off session, whatever case may be, blah, 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 blah. So Puff is in a bedroom, I guess in the suite. So Puff was in the bedroom, and Cassie was in like the main room with Paul, like on the computer, something like that. Well, they were both in the main room. Cassie was apparently, they said, on the computer. I don't know if she tried to set the playlist up or what she was doing. Puff screamed for her to come to the room, like, hey, come here. Cassie screams back in some form of fashion, hold on. Now, how that hold on was communicated, was it like attitude, whatever the case may be? You don't know. It was like, hold on. At that point in time, Paul testified, and Cassie testified, that Puff came out the room, grabbed her by the hair, drug her to the room, closed the door and beat her up. Paul said he could hear like the licks and shit from like outside of the hotel room. Catch testify he beat her ass, right? After that was over with, put her back outside. She came back outside, you know, kind of looking like somebody who got beat, touched up. No face, no teary eye, no look that she been touched up. And Puff was like, all right, let's get it. And matter of fact, when he did, let me rewind. When he pulled her by the hair, he was like, bitch, you do what I say do. When I say do it, and took her in the room and basically roughed her up. Alright? So now, came back out the room, he was like, alright, let's get to the shit. But then, once that happened, dude Paul was like, he was so throwed up and shit, he couldn't do that no more. He was like, I can't work no more. Like your dick was in your arm. He's like, I'm throwed right now. I'm good. So nothing ended up happening. They ended up paying Paul like for his time. Somebody's waiting, nothing happened. Now, on the fence, that one works. I don't think they did enough on. I don't think they put enough time into that one. Like on being like on some shit like, because no point in time where she's saying that she didn't want to do anything. It just was Puff snapping on some shit like some power trip shit. Like in other words, from all intents and purposes, all things was go. Like she was maybe just, I guess she was what they're like fixing the damn playlist up, buying some shoes, and then Puff snapped. Now, I guess maybe it don't matter, but it's like, okay, what's the nuances? Were they arguing? Like, did Puff say, come here, and she snapped back at him, and he set off? Like, that stuff matter, but it don't matter, but it mattered. That's just stuff I'd be curious to know. But nothing popped off that night as far as freak off wise. Like, after he beat her up, he was like, hey, let's get to it, but nothing actually happened. But it is the intent of something happening. So, I'm in defense, that instance worries me. That worries me. And now, the number one, the one that worries me the most about the defense is, all right, so Cassie and Jane Doe and Puff. Puff pulled up to Jane Doe crib. This was after he got arrested, after he was cased up. They stopped doing freakouts in hotels, doing them at the house. Put up to Jane Doe house. They kicking it, vibing, drinking. Evidently, she had heard or found out some way that Puff had been in Utah kicking it with some other chick, right? Kicking it with some other chick. Apparently the chick is super young. So, upon kicking it with the other chick, Jane Doe basically spazzed on Puff. Like, he bent down to tie his shoe and she popped him in the head twice. Whoop, whoop. She got up and walked off. Puff chased her in the house, like down the house. He broke open her bedroom door. She went in the bathroom. He broke down the bathroom door. She went into the closet, broke up the closet door. Then, I'm trying to think he hit her then, hit her later. I think he would say he hit her then too. And they were scrapping a little bit, and she left the house. Went on the other side of the house for like 40 minutes. They had planned to do a freak off, but like she had snapped on. That's the time she called Pepper pedo. She called you. She's like, you a fucking pedophile. Like, because apparently the girl is either 19 or 20 years old. Because they said like the girl's grown, but she's not old enough to drink alcohol. She's called her, but she in her testimony, she made specifically be known that she was over 18. But she wasn't old enough to buy alcohol. So, I mean, she's either 18, 19, 20. Right? So now, she leaves. She walks out the house. She comes back. Puff waiting for her. Can't remember exact all details of it, but the information you need to know is that they get to it again. Puff calls. Oh, okay. So, Puff has her phone and is going through her phone. And that's when she sees that her and one of the sex workers had talks back and forth, like on some other shit. So Puff was like, "Hold on, you cheating on me with dude?" And she was like, "Nah, we had a mutual friend, blah 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 blah." Puff was like, "Y'all ain't got no mutual friends." So then, amidst all that, they get into it. Mind you, sex workers come to the house. They get into it. They get to fight. Puff pops her like 3 different times, like twice in the head and 1 on the forehead. Something like he clocks her. Like she said, like he made hit a full-fledged pop. Long story less long. With me, so what you need to know is that during this fight, the dude's coming. The dude's in the house already. She's being reluctant about it. He grabs her and says, "You're not gonna fuck this up for me." Basically grabs her and says, "Get in there and suck his dick and fuck this man. You're not gonna mess this man up for me." Then picks her up and looks her in her face and says, "Is this coercion?" And then proceeds to force her to go in there and have a freak out. Now, if I'm the defense, that's the one I'm losing sleep on. Because they never could address the whole, is this coercion line? This happens after the fact, after he is clearly indicted, clearly got charges on him. It's all bad. Like, even when Puff lawyer, Mark Alnifalo, when he basically writes his closing argument about it, he basically talked around the details, but he really wasn't saying that. Like, it's some loser language type shit. Like, I mean, yeah, they got to it, she fought him, they fought back, da-da-da. But he really hit no key point. You could tell he really had no smoke for that. Like, kind of like, I can't not talk about it. He tried to downplay it to a degree, but like, it was like, you could tell like he really had like he had like he had some smoke for some other shit, but that one, he didn't really have nothing. He had that. Like, I was waiting for him to say like something about this coercion line, like it was a joke or it was something, like say something. He didn't mention that or tell it off. Now, if I'm the defense, that's the one I'm losing sleep over. Like, that's the one like damn, like the other ones can be reasonably explained, and to the basically the theme of the court is that basically like reasonable doubt, like, can you reasonably explain why it ain't a crime? Can you reasonably explain why this happened and it ain't bad? Like, the other ones can kind of reasonably be explained. Like, that one, like, there is no explanation. Like, damn, Buff, like, I don't know what to say to you, my G. So, if I'm the defense, that's the one I'm worried about, all right? So now, I told you my thoughts on RICO. I told you my thoughts on the sex trafficking act, all right? So now, my thoughts, SK's thoughts, what SK would do if I'm a juror, okay? So now, you got 5 counts, right? 5 counts he's in trouble for. RICO, sex trafficking Cassie, man act Cassie. Sex trafficking Jane Doe, man act Jane Doe, right? That's his 5 charges. So now, SK opinion. SK, and someone who's been here for multiple days, listen to real life, in-depth testimony, who's boots on the ground, who has insight from both sides on this. SK ain't just talking outside his head. I ain't just watching TV. I'm boots on the ground. SK here, ground zero. My SK's estimation, SK's expert opinion. I think he's cooked on man act, interstate prostitution. I think he's cooked on that. I think both of those, and they're respectively counts 3 and count 5, I think he's going to get down guilty. I don't see a way you can reasonably not convict him, right? Now, what I would do, if I were on the jury, I would vote him not guilty on RICO and not guilty on sex trafficking. Just because I don't personally believe what he's done constitutes or is sex trafficking or RICO. Now, you can say like, well, that's not what the law says. It's true, it's not what the law says. But you're asking the individual their opinion. Like, yeah, you can tell me where you have to do this and all right, well, I'm doing what I want to do. I'm telling you, like, I'm not like, yeah, like the man act in the shape, yeah, family, gotta eat that. But for Rico and sex trafficking, I would do, cause I would do somebody like that. Like, I wouldn't feel comfortable. Like, I keep making the metaphor of, it's like, while what he did can categorically be said that he did those crimes, I don't believe that's what those crimes were intended for. In other words, like the metaphor I give is like, I give you a octagon shaped object, right? And I told you to stick it in a round pose. The object would fit in the hole. It would go inside the hole. But that's not designed, that's not the object that's designed to go in this hole. Similarly, by letter of law or definition, you could 1000% convict him of RICO and sex trafficking. Like, by letter of the law, 1000% you could spin it, and just like they spun it, but there's no could. By letter of the law, they 1000% spun it to where it fits sex trafficking. They spun it to where it fits RICO. All right, but as Puff lawyer said, like, this is two cases. This is a case of like reality versus what they're trying to paint. Like, they're trying to paint it to be this. In reality, this is just a fucked up, toxic, like, wild, like, relationship. Like, to the bazillionth power because of who he is. Like, no shit I've done personally, but 1000% have known people be domestic violence situations. 1000% have had girlfriends mad at you and you be like, y'all like arguing back and forth and shit like that. Like, 1000% have seen these things happen. So I 1000% can see how these things escalated without government. Like, that's the one thing about Puff that gets him killed right now is, hold on, I'll come back to that. So now, those are my thoughts. Those are SK's thoughts. I would convict him of interstate prostitution. I would put not guilty on sex trafficking and RICO. That's what SK would do. Now, you, whoever else out there. So now, there is a thought, there is a theory going on now that all this Puff is getting is basically his comeuppance for his life. Like, absolute power corrupts absolute. There's no better case of that than this right here. Right? So if you say that, I hear you say SK, but because you can remember the case with the charity basketball game where the person got trampled, the Shine J-Lo shooting, the Tupac murder that they try and put on Puff now, the Lucifish with the Biggie murder he put on now, the countless people who, bad boy who he's quote unquote done wrong. Like, if you want to say like all this is a summation and the universe giving Puff his comeuppance, I feel you. Like, I feel you. If you had that point of view, I'm not mad at it. In every major religion, there's some form of give and take. Karma, comeuppance, reap what you sow in every religion. And I believe that. So now if you tell me that all that stuff is coming back for now for Puff to get done dirty, like all the situations where he got off, and when he probably was like fucked up, for him to get screwed by the time he wasn't, it's his comeuppance, I'd buy it. But I buy it. It's not what I would do. That's not how I would vote for it. But you feel that way, I'd be like, I feel you. I understand that. But now, what does SK think the jury's going to do? All right. Based on the information I know and a little bit of nuggets I have. I got a couple nuggets. I'm gonna drop on my subscription page. Yeah. Never on my prescription. I think he gets convicted of manslaughter, interstate prostitution, and I think it's hung jury on sex trafficking and hung jury on RICO. That's my prediction. Guilty on interstate prostitution, hung jury sex trafficking, hung jury RICO. That's SK prediction. All right. Now, I'll tell you, with that being my prediction, I'll tell you this. Any way it come out, any way it goes, I wouldn't be shocked. The only way I would be shocked if he came back not guilty on all 3 counts. Because like, for it to be guilty or not guilty, it has to be a consensus. Like, all 12 jurors have to agree. If all 12 jurors agree he's not guilty on all 3 counts, I would be shocked. I'd be jaw drop shocked. Anything else besides that, I wouldn't be shocked. Now, some of this stuff kind of constitutes, like, if he's RICO, like, if he gets sex trafficking on Cassie and Jane Doe, he also get RICO. So things kind of like go together, so to speak. So, we'll see. Before him up here, must be somebody coming out right now. That's his mom. Or his way, his mom on as one of the baby moms. It's not me, that's the other one. Alright, y'all. The boys, you know, the kids left earlier to go to lunch, and so mom, niece, and niece left just now. So yeah, that's the thoughts on it. So now we wait. We wait and see what's gonna be. If it comes back quick, that ain't good in my estimation. Come back quick, that ain't good for Puff. SK estimation. That mean cook. That mean it was like, hey, no, we wait. Cut the shit out. I gotta go home. Now, takes a couple days. That's good. That means that as far as for Puff, that means there's some dissension going on. Things got to be talked about. We're not agreeing, whatnot, so forth and so on. Yeah, but that's it. Now we wait. So we'll see. In the meantime, go to my subscription. I'm going to give you my tidbits on why I believe the jury will go the way it's going to go. Got some valuable inside information, and I'll let y'all know that. Till then, next time I clock in, it'll be with. I'll try to clock in the minute they tell us it's going to be a verdict. But this is how it's going to work. If it's going to be a verdict, you got to basically go back in the building. So I'm going to have to get my phone back up, go back in the building, hear the verdict, come outside, get my phone, turn it back on, go live again. So I try to go live and be like, hey, look, we got a verdict. You got to go in and see what's good. Turn it off, come back, get the verdict, let y'all know. There ain't no telling when it's going to be. Could be. So that's what I'll do. So when we get find out it's going to be a verdict, I'll tag and let guys know. Let guys know verdict coming. That means that you can basically stand by for the next 30 minutes to an hour as they come back out with the verdict. I'll tell you what goes on there, all right? I ain't never seen nothing like this. It's packed today too. A little bit everybody is there. But yeah, it's your boy SK. I'm gonna tap in with y'all. SK out. SK broke.